One concern around artificial intelligence is its voracious appetite for energy. Electricity demand for AI-focused data centers will quadruple in the next 5 years, at least according to a new report from the International Energy Agency. But the report also calls claims that AI is accelerating climate change overstated. Tech editor Peter O'Brien has been looking through all of this. Now, there's still quite a bit of uncertainty then about the future of energy and AI.
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. I've been looking through this chunk here, and basically the takeaway is that yes, energy demand from AI is obviously going to increase significantly as we continue to use it, but there are uncertainties, particularly around emissions. Is AI going to devour so much oil, well, rather gas and coal, that it's disastrous for our planet? Is it going to actually increase efficiencies and spur innovations that allow us to reduce emissions, or is it going to fall somewhere in between? And who better to talk about it than Thomas Spencer, who co-wrote the report. Thanks for being here on Tech 24.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
So I think you're quite honest with the uncertainty aspect in this report. You actually base it around some fundamental different projections as to where AI and energy might go.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as with any tech revolution, we don't know exactly where this is going. So we felt it was very important that we ground our analysis in a range of scenarios that can help all actors to position themselves depending on where they think the future is evolving. And so in our central scenario, electricity demand from the data centers that power AI, it does double between now and 2030. But even with that doubling, it's still going to account for only 3% of global electricity consumption. So, of course, the speed of energy demand growth from AI is a concern. It's something that we need to manage proactively, but we do need to put it in the broader context of the huge size of the global energy sector.
And quadrupling will be the AI specialist data centers, from what I understand.
That's right. So, of course, we use data centers for many, many different things, for streaming, for web hosting, and now increasingly for data centers, for artificial intelligence. And our estimate is that this AI-focused electricity consumption will indeed quadruple between now and 2030.
Now, our viewers who are perhaps looking at their energy bills might see facts like a large data center can consume as much electricity as 100,000 households, the largest currently under construction consuming as much as 2 million households, as something that they're worried might be pushing up their prices.
Yeah, so these are really impressive numbers. And the issue with data centers is, first of all, they're being constructed very quickly. Secondly, they're quite spatially concentrated, so they tend to cluster together. They tend to cluster close to cities, and that is putting strain on electricity systems in places that host a lot of data centers. So in Ireland, for example, in Virginia in the United States. And there are concerns about how we fund the infrastructure investments necessary to integrate data centers into the electricity system, that there is a fair burden sharing of those extra investment costs, indeed.
And why did you think it was so important to bring quite, close to the front of the report that these claims that AI is accelerating climate change could be overstated?
Well, in the public debate, you see two positions being taken, and they're quite different. The first one is that AI, because of the technology innovation that it can bring, can, in simple terms, solve climate change. And the second is a more alarmist position that AI, because of the acceleration in energy consumption, is going to dramatically accelerate climate change. And when we looked very carefully at the data, when we looked at the numbers, when we did our analysis, we found that neither position was really justified. What is important is that AI is a tool. Like any other tool, it's up to us how we use it. It can help us on many climate problems, for example, integrating more renewables into our electricity systems. But at the same time, we need to manage the electricity consumption growth that we are already seeing today. And so we wanted just to, let's say, do a bit of myth-busting with regard to these two diametrically opposed viewpoints that you hear in the public debate.
One top AI scientist concerned about potential for runaway energy use is Stuart Russell, who I talked to at the Paris AI Summit. Take a listen.
Continues growing at the present rate, and this is the most worrying thing. Right? If it continues to grow by a factor of 10 every year, then it will start to really have a huge impact.
So, Thomas Spencer, I've seen your report characterised as saying the solution to this kind of fear being simply more AI. Is this a fair assessment?
AI can definitely be one of the solutions, but it's not enough by itself. So, for example, if we're worried about how to integrate data centers into our electricity systems without increasing customer bills, as you mentioned, one solution is that we use AI to manage our electricity networks more efficiently. But at the same time, we do need to keep focusing on how, for example, we can reduce the energy consumption of data centers and AI. There are a lot of efficiency improvements that we can still tap. For example, making sure that the models that we use are the most efficient possible for the task at hand. That's really important. Making sure that we have continued innovation in the hardware that goes into data centers so that the calculations that these models need can be made more and more efficiently. And that will require, obviously, policy incentives and cooperation between the tech and the energy sector. So AI can be part of the solution, but it's not, as we mentioned in the report, a silver bullet.
However, you do mention right at the end fears about efficiency increases in some sectors, like oil and gas, early adopters of AI, leading to more emissions.
Absolutely. And this is where it comes back to it's up to us how we use this tool. So the classic example of rebound effects that you often hear in the tech sector is that AI models are becoming more and more efficient. That's lowering their costs. It could increase their uptake and therefore lead to a spiral of electricity consumption growth. But again, it's up to us how we use this tool. And the efficiency benefits that we have seen from AI can be very substantial.
The other worry is bottlenecks. This could be a geopolitical issue going forward if China, as you say in the report, controls 99% of gallium, which is an increasingly important material for data centers. How do we resolve these bottlenecks? Is maybe global protectionism that we're seeing more of, is it going to make them worse? Is it going to make them better?
So one of the objectives with the report was to highlight the, let's say, two-way interactions between energy security and artificial intelligence. Energy security is at the core of what we do at the IEA. It's our constant concern. And what we highlight in the report is that there are concerns that at the local level, if we don't resolve the issue of how we integrate this new wave of data centers into our electricity system, that data center projects could be delayed. At the same time, there are energy security concerns that might be sharpened by the use of AI. So, for example, cyber attacks are an increasing concern and have been targeted towards critical infrastructure, including in the energy sector. And again, AI can be used and misused. AI is being used to make cyber attacks more sophisticated, but at the same time, energy companies and the public sector are using AI to defend against cyber attacks. So the issue that we felt with the report is we needed to raise awareness of the fact that this new technology, which is now starting to become more and more linked to the energy sector, is going to raise new energy security concerns, but also offer new solutions. And so that was the objective with the report, to set out a factual and data-based account of the interactions between AI and energy security.
How difficult is it getting to those facts, getting to those statistics on growth in such a turbulent market at the moment? Like, are Trump's tariffs going to make you have to revise some of the figures you put in here?
It's a great question, actually. I'm really glad you asked it. So we spent 6 months writing this report, and one of the challenges with it was indeed access to data. It's a new sector. It's one where many governments don't collect comprehensive statistics. Many of the companies active in the sector do report on things like their energy consumption, but not necessarily with exactly the same metrics and so on. So it is a complicated field to navigate. And as you mentioned, it's moving very quickly. And this is why we in our report also went with a scenario-based approach. So we have a central scenario, which we call our base case. This is based on what we see in terms of new data center projects that are under construction and so on. And that's the scenario in which electricity consumption from data centers doubles by 2030. We also have a higher scenario. This is called our liftoff case. It's possible that there are further breakthroughs with artificial intelligence that really boost uptake. We wanted to consider the implications of that. And then indeed we have what we call the headwinds case, which is where the local bottlenecks are sharper. There are potentially slowdowns in the uptake of AI if it doesn't meet all of the promises that are being made in terms of its usefulness, and possibly even the kind of macroeconomic headwinds that we are seeing today could play into that scenario. But again,
Headwinds is a bit of could be considered a euphemism if we're going to face a recession, for instance. Does it take that into account?
So there are multiple factors that we consider in the design of our lower scenario. One is the local bottlenecks that you mentioned. They are serious, and we need to work to resolve them. They could delay some data center projects, and therefore how much AI can actually be supplied to consumers. There are bottlenecks around international supply chains, for example, for transformers, which are needed to connect data centers to the grid. And at the same time, I think the tech sector recognizes that the uptake and business model around AI is not yet clear. We're looking for the killer app, as they say. So there are different scenarios on how AI may be used by consumers and by businesses. So we took that into account. And then, of course, there's always macroeconomic uncertainty. It's particularly sharp at the moment. And we also considered that in the design of the lower scenario.
All right, Thomas Spencer from the International Energy Agency.